Hey guys, today we are going to make an analog clock system, and as you can see, this is how the final project looks like. And we need some steps to make it work. We need to structure the clock, including its arrows and the clock itself. And for the CSS, we need to style the body. We need to style the container, which has the clock and the arrows. And we also need to make the hour and the second arrows look different. As you can see from the final project, the hour hand and the second hand, they look different. So we need to work on that. And for the final steps, the JavaScript steps, we need to complete these actions. We need to target elements before we use the elements to define the functions. In this case, the function we'll call it update time, and within this function, we will define the current hour and minute and the second hands. We also define the degrees of rotation, and finally we will update the hands to their correct positions. Okay, so and we also need to set the interval at which the clock will be updating based on this function. So yeah, these are the steps we need to complete our project. Without wasting time, let's start. This is the setup of my HTML. As you can see, on the left we have the file tray, which has the HTML file, the JavaScript file, and the CSS file. And we also have an image which we'll be using for our project. This is how it looks. So let's start with the HTML and just write the structure. Put here our title. Uh, we need now to design the body. We start with a div. This div we give it a class clock. Okay. And inside it we need also a div with a class arrows. This div will contain the arrows, the hour, second, and minute arrows. So div. After writing our HTML, we need to open our live server so that we can see. For the CSS, we will start by styling the body. Uh, and the first thing we need is to remove the margin. We don't want any margin. Uh, Give it 0. So we don't need the padding. Now we need to display text and say justify content. We need it to be center. Align items also center. And the background color, we can say white smoke. This one will look okay for our project. So let's now tell the clock itself how we want our clock to be like. Okay, it has a glass clock. So within it, we need to set the width and the height. And its width will be 100 pixels, same as the height. Background color, its background color is going to be light gray. Yeah, light gray, it's okay. And see, this is how it looks. And okay, we need this clock to be at the center of the body, so we can just include here. We can include somewhere here. We can say we need the what? We need the height, the height of the body to be 100 viewport height. Okay, so you can see it has moved in the center. So on this clock, the next thing we need to say now, the border radius. We need the border radius to be, okay, sorry. The border radius, we need it to be 100%. And let's just set the border to a color. We need the border to be 10 pixels thick. And the color, we need to be solid dark blue this way. Okay, we can now add the box shadow so that we have the 3D effect. We have our clock to have a 3D effect. So for the horizontal offset 0, for the vertical offset 0, the blurriness 30 pixels is okay. Now let's set the RGBA. We need red to be 0, sorry, 0, green 0 also, blue 0, and the alpha value we set it to 0.6 this way. As you can see, that's how it looks. Now in our files we had an image, this one. We need to add this image in our CSS. Let's just go ahead and say background. Need our background to be an image. Okay. So we need to include its URL. We need the background to be white in color. So the URL we say we'll select it from the select it, okay, from our file. And now for it to fit, we say we need to say the background size and say cover, let it fits inside. The background color, sorry, the background size. Okay, that's how it looks. Now the next thing now, after setting the clock, as you can see, we don't have the clock hands or the arrows. We also don't have we have not styled our dot. We need to have a dot and style it. So the first thing first, you see this one, this div, this clock div. okay, not the clock, the arrow div, the arrows, we need to style it. This div that this class that has the hour, the minute, and the hand. So we just say arrows. Now we need to define its width. And we also say display flex. Justify content center, line items center. These arrows will be at the center of each container, which is the clock, this one here. And it will take the full width and the full height, 100%. So the next thing after defining how the arrows will look, we need to style the dot before now we look into the arrows, the specific arrows, the hour and the minute and the second. So to do this, we need to say arrows, then introduce a pseudo class before we can say before. And now to introduce that arrow, we need to not the arrow, to introduce the dot, which is not even present in our HTML. We must say content and say empty. Not empty, these dots. We include these dots. We need to say content and introduce these. Now let's define its width and height respectively. We need it to have 15 pixels for the width and the height. And now we need also to give it a background color, which is can have dark gray. So after the color, the border radius, we need it to have a circle, be in a circle shape, say 50. And now we need also a box shadow. It's like we had on the clock. Uh, it's, it's box shadow. I think we can just take this one here, then we change the values to save time. And this one will be on one, this one, this one over here too. And here we can say, okay, we can just say 7. Yeah, so that's how now it looks, as you can see. So then after that, we need now to shape our arrows, the specific arrows now. To do that, we just say arrow and the div that is containing the arrows themselves. And the first thing we need to say, these arrows must be positioned absolute to its container, which is the clock. So we need to include position absolute. Okay. And for the parent, its parent, which is the clock, we need to say position relative. Okay. So that when we style it, you'll see how it looks in relation to its parent. So the first thing we need to have, after saying position absolute, we need to say it to give its width, and can say 4 pixels. For the height, for the height 120 pixels. Okay, so we need to give it color so that we can see it. Sorry, uh, background color should be black. And after giving it color, we need also to give it a box shadow, and we're going to just take this one here and use it. And we need to we need the bottom of these hands to be at the center of its container, which is the clock. So we just say bottom 50%. Means, you see, it has come to the center. And now the next item is we need to set its transform origin so that the hands themselves, they will be rotating based on the setting that will provide. We just say we will give it bottom center. This means they will rotate from here. You see here. Okay, that's what it means. And we need also to define the border radius of the clock hands. And we need to say 50%, 50%, 0, 0. Okay, this means 50%, 50%. These are for the rounding the bottom left and the bottom right, each 50, 50. And 0, 0 is for the to make them sharp around here. You see, for instance, when we interchange these values and put it the other way around, you see these changes. This one becomes flat, and then here it rounds. So basically we need them to be here so that this is how it looks. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is to make this dot appear on top of the clock hands. So we are going to use the Z or the Z index, and for the arrows, which are 3, we are going to give 3. Okay, and now for the dot, we are going to give it Z index 4 so that the dot appears on top. And also you have to remember that The greater, the greater an element with a greater stack order always appears in front. So this one, the dot has a greater Z index, which is 4, so it will appear in top as you can see. Okay, that is it for it. Now we need to style the hour hand. For the hour hand, just say arrows, and then we say X, and we need to give it height. As you can see, all of them have the same height, so we need to give it a height of 80 pixels. And now for the second, we need to also style it differently. And what we need to give is a color, different color. It should be, we can give it gold. Yeah. So this is it for the CSS. What we need now is to add interactivity. We need to add some JavaScript so that we can see them moving around. For the JavaScript part, the first thing we need to target to select our elements, the hour, minute, and second elements from the HTML. So just going to, okay, let's take this one here. So constant for the hour, need select it using document dot because it's a class, we use query selector. Okay, and save it. Just here. And now we need to do that for the same way for the minute and the second. So let's just select it and get it so that we can change here and here. Sorry. So that you can change this one minute and then change here. Now, taking these elements from the HTML, we now need to define our function, which we shall call it, just call it update time. Now within the function, the first thing we need to do is to define now the variables. The first variable we are going to define is get object, and we shall call it now is equals to new. Okay. After that, from this object, the get object, we need to get the exact seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay, using this object, we need to get the exact time for the second, minute, and hour respectively. get second is equals to now is the object, this object. So now dot get second now dot get seconds, and for that we need to do the same for the minute and the hour. So instead of get second, we are going to say get minute, and also change here, eh, changing it to say minutes. This one is get hours. These are JavaScript methods that we will use to get the hours, the minutes, and the seconds respectively. So after this, after defining those variables, we need to now to calculate the degree of rotation for the second, the minute, and the hours. Okay, sorry, this one is, we need to change to hour. That way. So let's just get the calculate the degrees of rotation for the minute and the second and the hour based on the current time. Okay, so let's just start constant and degree. Shall say we shall define it as the degree itself. We need to open the brackets. Then we take this. Okay, we take it, and now we give it over 60, which is the 60 seconds, and then we multiply it by the 360 degrees, because this clock is the degrees for the clock is 360, so we just times that by 360. Okay, let's say 360 that way. Now we need to do the same for the minute and the hour. So here is minute degree, and we also change here for this one. We need to say hour, and here we need to say get hour that way. And now for the hours, we need, because it's a 12-hour clock system, we need to say 12 that way. The next thing is the next thing we need is to update the clock, the clock hands, all the hands to the correct positions. We need every clock hand to have a position. So by doing that, we need to use the transform property to make the hands get their positions. Okay, so for the seconds, I need to say second dot style transform property. Sorry. Is it is equals to? Need to start that by opening the template literals, which is we start by a backtick, and now inside the backticks we need to rotate. Say rotate, and with it we need to now to give the give the to pass inside these each of these second degree, minute degree, and hour degree. We pass it inside here so that it becomes dynamic. And now we say degree. So that we now the next thing now is close it. To closing it, we need to do that the same thing for the minute and the hour. So let's copy down, change here, take this one, change it, paste. Okay, we also do the same for the hour. Now, after that, we now need to put a set interval, the interval that the clock will be updating every now and then, and need to mention our function, and then we also set the time every time this clock will be working. So as you can see, it's not working because we did not link the JavaScript. So let's just go ahead and link it. So script dot just choose this. Now we include the old script.js. Okay, and now as you can see, it's not still working. Where did we not? Okay. As you can see now, it's working. Okay, this is it for the video.